There is this Korean word called Jim, very much like J-I-M. When Koreans say Jim, it means burden. You should not be a burden. It's a message that has been inculcated into our minds.
The complexity, color, and vitality of the Korean American experience. Today on World in America. For thousands of years, Koreans have thrived as a distinct people with a culture and language uniquely their own. In the 20th century, the aftermath of occupation and war left Korea divided and torn. By 1953, two countries stood on one ravaged land. Soon, however, many Koreans would turn their plight into a drive for excellence. From the ashes, South Korea was reborn. A world away, Korean Americans would be hailed an immigrant success story. On this episode, we'll meet Korean Americans from different walks of life to learn their take on a remarkable picture. Dr. Kil Jae-yi came to the U.S. 30 years ago. Now a professor of history and a long-term New Yorker, he paints one view of Korean Americans, drawn with the eye of a scholar and colored by experiences of a former immigrant.
One of the dreams of many Korean parents in Korea is to send their kids to America and let them receive American education. Now that really is a dream because not many people can afford to send their kids to America to pursue their education. So, better way is to immigrate to America and give all the children the best possible education that my parents thought can be obtained in America. So we are relatively comfortable in Korea, but we all thought that if we go to America, we the kids will receive the best possible education. And that was the primary force behind our 6 family members packing and coming to America.
Today, generations of Korean Americans call the U.S. home. Dr. Yi traces the roots of a vibrant community.
How did this community begin? We have to go back to the beginning of the 20th century when Korea was a colony of Japan. There was a small group of intellectuals who came to study in America, at the same time start some sort of movement for their independence from their Japanese colonial masters.
Thousands more came after the Korean War. In addition to adopted children and the bridges of veterans, America welcomed a few talented individuals.
Come 60s, professionals came, mostly doctors and nurses, and some foreign students who wanted to pursue PhD degrees in America. Up until that point, it was a very small community.
Miss Ok-ja Lim has music in her soul. Years ago, she left Korea in pursuit of education. A graduate of Juilliard, Lim has graced opera stages across Europe and the United States. The acclaimed soprano remembers a time when things weren't so effortless.
When I left my country at the time, it wasn't easy to go abroad to study, and lots of preparation, legally also, restriction. But tough time we had it, but we had a strong faith in ourselves and in God. I said, just lead us in the right place.
Beginning in the 70s, that petitioning became popular. So Korean immigrants who are already here began to petition their siblings to come to America. And that kind of opened the floodgate, so to speak, where many people receive the petition invitation from their relatives who already live here in United States and in New York, and they join that exodus allowed by the petitioning.
Miss Gloria Yi works as a certified public accountant. Together, she and her husband, Dr. Yi, raised their 2 daughters in New York City. She looks back to her own childhood and how the end of quotas had brought her family a new beginning.
I came here when I was 11 years old from Korea, Seoul. I'm one of the 9 girls from my family. There's 9 girls just girls in our family. All of us came here together. We came here because of my father's business was not doing well in Korea, so we came here for the better opportunity for all of us.
Korean Americans would soon grow into the community they are today.
By 80s, the Korean community became quite sizable in this area, 100,000, and it increased to 200,000. And as I said, at this point, it is estimated that in the tri-state area, Koreans number more than 400,000 at this point.
By some estimates, nearly 2 million Koreans now live in the U.S., largely in California, New York, and surrounding areas. Among them are a number of dynamic individuals drawn here by America's cultural mix. Miss Sumi Rowe is one of them.
The very first instance that I came to America was when, after my initial studies in university, before I go to graduate school, I wanted to discover some world on my own and to see at least like what kind of other, people in the world actually live and do. So I spent about 3.5 months traveling around the world on my own. And the first destination was actually America.
Rowe's zeal for the Big Apple ripened into a job with the UN. The architect, wife, and mother is also an accomplished pianist. Miss Sun Kwak matches a Korean sense of focus with an independent modern style. Seen here in an installation hosted by chic designer Salvatore Ferragamo, her work speaks to audiences far and wide.
I came here 14 years ago to study, and the reason why I came here to experience broad cultural experience as an artist. Back then I thought that the art in America is the center of the world, so I wanted to go directly to the center.
Making your way in a new country doesn't happen overnight. Koreans forging ahead in America often face a number of challenges.
The first major shock was the language. I had 2 years of relatively primitive English instruction, and my English was not adequate. It was not enough.
First of all, I didn't understand English at all, so I didn't speak a word of English. And we were staying with our cousins who were born here.
I can communicate, still I can communicate, but still I can't really fully explore my thoughts and ideas. And also the nuance of the language, it's hard to catch.
Let me give you a good example. I landed in the airport and I wanted to go to the bathroom. And I asked people, where is WC? And that's how I learned that bathroom is WC. White closet. So I went around asking people WC, and no one was able to tell me what WC or where WC is actually. So it was quite a painful experience starting from the airport. The larger issue was language.
Past the hurdles of language, many run into stereotypes.
Although we have a good side of culture, that a lot of Koreans, Americans, whether it be in a food or in a music or in a schools, a lot of people think that Koreans are very diligent. Koreans really study, make their kids study really well.
Koreans are known to be very diligent, and they are very hardworking as well as very hard studying people. And I think those positive prejudices are valid. Koreans came here not with a whole lot of money in their pockets or bank accounts, but with modest means. And you can tell that, especially in New York City, there are a lot of Korean-owned and operated shops. And they literally change the way we buy and consume things. Most of the Korean shops open 24 hours. That could be perceived as a sign of diligence. It could also give off a wrong impression that Koreans, all they wanted to do is make money. But one thing is quite clear, that because of these shops that are open 24 hours, 365 days, we can just go out, walk out into the street and any time of the day or night and buy what we want and what we need.
Despite certain setbacks, Korean Americans have worked hard to turn negatives into positives. As artists and entrepreneurs, scholars and professionals, they waste no time in sharing the fruits of their culture, their passion, and energy.
As you have to really struggle to show and to prove yourself in every other thing, in our music, our art, and our studies, and our culture and food, and the kind of people's behavior in the restaurants and all that. I think we developed the good points about it, like we excel in everything that we do.
For my American or European friends, first of all, they like to get to know our culture first. The culture means our tradition, music, and food, and costume. And also personally, when they get to know who we are, then they felt comfortable.
안녕하세요. 큰집 레스토랑, 큰집 식당 박혜화입니다.
She said 안녕하세요. That means in English, hi or how are you? And her name is Hewa Park.
At Kunjip, authenticity starts at home. Kunjip is Korean for older brother. Stop by this Manhattan restaurant and hospitality takes on a new meaning. Owner Miss Hewa Park makes every dish with mother's care. She and her daughter, Miss Christina Yang, reveal the spice and sizzle of one heartfelt cuisine.
When we think of the Korean food in the United States, is that the rice, basically rice and some spicy soup, and a lot of side dishes, which includes the kimchi and a lot of vegetables, and sometimes there's fish, and also the barbecue, which is like bulgogi or galbi, and fish, and lots of vegetable dishes.
이거는 돌솥에
This is steamed rice in a stone pot, hot stone pot. These are the kimchi, radish. This is radish. This is cabbage. These are all the vegetables. This is a bulgogi. It's called the japchae, which is a fried potato noodle with a vegetable and some meat. If you want meat, we put meat, or if you want seafood, you can go with the seafood. This is a stone hot bibimbap. As she said, bibimbap is rice with a lot of vegetable and a little bit of beef in there and egg yolk. This is a Korean traditional beef stew, spicy beef stew. With a lot of vegetable inside. This one is another bibimbap, but my mom made it. This is a tofu bibimbap, so this is for the vegetarian. This is another bibimbap. This is the stone hut, the squid bibimbap. This was created by our customer Steven, but he said it's like a Steven squid bibimbap. It's called sundubu jjigae. That's a tofu soup. It's made with the seafood and a little bit of vegetable. This is called a doenjang jjigae. It's a bean paste soup, but in Japanese, you know, the miso soup. It's like a miso soup. This is a grilled fish, grilled mackerel. Yeah, we serve this the fish for the breakfast mostly. It's really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ancient and varied, the traditional music of Korea excites and inspires. There are instruments that shimmer and songs full of comedic folly. Dances of symmetry and grace. Meet whirling celebrations of a farmer at harvest. Gatherings around the country, Korean Americans take pride in their heritage. This concert in New York joined local performers with those direct from Korea. The dance is known as bukchum. They play the drums of ecstasy. The music and motion invoke the harmony of creation. Call towards heaven, tradition says, and the sound of a community lifted in joy.
I think, to me personally, culture already starts from what you feel inside and how you reflect or radiate what you feel inside. That as in a group, it sort of radiates to the third party who perceives you or the whole Koreans themselves.
Beyond festive displays and bright holidays, Korean Americans honor the deeper hallmarks of their culture. Language is one, commitment to family, they say, is another.
The importance of respect for elders. That's very, very important. And sometimes it can be a point of contention between the first generation Koreans and second generation younger Koreans.
In old days, grandparents and grandchildren, they all live in the one house and they have a respect for elderly people.
I feel that there is a problem, or this idea about the notion of the filial piety that we were taught and we were taught to and were brought up to respect. It's in a way, unfortunately, it's like eroding away.
The expression, "I am tired," as a parent, has no bearing on my children. When they wanted to go play in the playground, my urgent plea that I am very tired does not register in their mind. You know what their response is? You are tired, but we are not. So we'll enjoy it, so let's go to the playground. So suppose my father came home and said, I'm very tired. I'll fetch him a glass of water. And I'll volunteer to do massage. And I'll try to make him feel better. However, for my kids, although they are very generous with helping me in many other areas, when it comes to their individual happiness, mine comes second, third, or behind to their individual happiness. I think that's a kind of, little subtle example, but I think it can be found in many homes of Korean American community.
Families must also tackle broader issues of identity.
In this kind of mixed society already in the family, starting from family, it's always a challenge because my little boy comes to me, asks me about in school I learned that I can do this kind of thing. Like why do I have to do it in a Korean way? And we sent him to Korean school for a weekend, Saturday school. He says, I want to go for swimming. I want to go for birthday party, which is big thing for a 5-year-old. But then he says, why do I have to speak Korean? Why do I have to go to Korean school? But he gets all high when we go to watch the World Cup or this Korean community. Then he raised his flag really with pride.
You may keep your American personality and character, but you have capacity and ability to add more. We're not asking you to choose side. We are asking you to hold the two precious gifts on your hand simultaneously.
In the search for balance, Korean Americans aren't alone. As Ms. Rowe and the others remind us, making the most of our diversity is a challenge society faces as a whole.
Certain parts of America, I felt there was pretty closed up. There's a degree of not that openness and being liberty and all these kind of things. But I felt New York is you try to accept and to live with all kinds of different people from different places, and you actually grow together with all these different ethnic communities.
American sense of acceptance comes from the fact that it is imperative. It is a must. If this society loses that sense of acceptance, then we are going to have the biggest cultural battlefield in the world. So it's an imperative that we learn to accept each other, no matter how different we are at times. So it's a must to begin with. And second, I think we are culturally aware as a society that it is really beautiful to listen to music of different tradition, dances of different tradition, to taste different food that use different spices. So I really do feel that, generally speaking, as a population, Americans do have capacity to taste and try different things, more so than the societies that I have been to.
To be thankful for what this country or place that you live in at the moment gives you, and that's where you are carrying on your life daily and mixing and mingling with people around. But also there's something that actually you came from, not really, even if you're not born here, it's something that you carry yourself, and I think that really makes you a rich person in both identity and the way you think, the way you eat, the way you behave, the way you live and talk to people.
we are taught to ask before we act, are you becoming a burden to someone or something? And we try very hard not to be a gym, a burden. And I think this is a generalization, of course, but Korean Americans share that teaching and keep that teaching in their hearts. Try not to be a burden to others or to the society at large. I think that's one of the reasons why we as a community try to be productive as we can, and learn, devote our time to learning so that we can be independent and not becoming gym burden to anybody else. We're not successful all the time. We are a community of imperfection. However, that certainly is a foundation on which we stand as a community.